Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is red.olaughlin on The Wise Ones on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And this is a truly worldwide audience that we have on every single week on this particular show. Today I'm honored, actually, very much honored to have Sriram Moorthy as my guest. And he is a Ayurvedic practitioner involved with a lot of holistic options in life. I had a wonderful conversation with him the other night, and I said I couldn't wait to get him on the show because just so much there to pass on. So the wise ones, we're going to get some wise advice today, and it's part of our show. Begin with awareness, education, and to improve our lives. So with that, Sriram, please join me.
Thank you, Red. Thank you for having me on the show. It's my pleasure, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
You label yourself as an Ayurvedic practitioner. Tell us a little bit about Ayurvedic and the practitioner aspect of being in that particular field.
That's Ayurveda is an ancient medical system. The origins of it is about perhaps about 5,000 years old, and it's a holistic healing science and medical science from India. People call it the sister science of yoga. That is how it is known conventionally these days. But in a sense, it is about helping people, first off, understand what it means to have no diseases, disease prevention. And on top of that, how do you actually correct any illnesses that might happen? Besides just the physical health aspect of it, Ayurveda is all about how can we help people live a healthy, long life. That essentially means that besides the body, how can you have a healthy life so that you align your life with the purpose that you want, and so that you live a meaningful and purposeful life.
Okay, so you're talking about melding together the body, the mind, and the spirit all together into one alignment that fits your purpose in life. I think most of us have no concept of what our purpose in life is, number one. Sometimes we might think about it. Sometimes we actually may work down that pathway and start trying to do stuff. But uh, how old were you when you finally found out what your purpose in life was? Because I know for a while you weren't in this field at all.
That's a great question. I suppose it's I was, prior to getting into health, I was an engineer, and for about 10, 15 years or so. So and it was I suppose my purpose in life was discovered even while I was in that career as an engineer. The reason I know that is because it was a field that did not hold my attention or hold my interest in it for longer than that many number of years. So as far as a purpose is concerned, I knew I wanted to always help people. And when I talk about helping people, it's about helping people emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. So, and that was a purpose that had been there when I was maybe about in my early 20s, about 24. But it took me about 15 years to actually get the nerve and get the courage to say, okay, I need to finally do something about it. And so I've been practicing Ayurveda for the past, educated and practiced for the past 10 years or so.
Okay, so you had a good start before COVID started. Tell us about how COVID affected your life, your career, because that did have a disruption, whether to you personally, certainly to your clients and to potential business. So tell us a little bit about Ayurveda and COVID.
So the question that you ask has two parts to it. One is personal, yes. The funny thing is during COVID, although it was a health crisis, my health practice did suffer. And we were up in the New York area during that time. And during during COVID, we decided to move down south, and now we are in Florida. So that was what happened actually personally. But in addition, what I also noticed during COVID was there was a lot of, besides just the actual illness, there was a lot of anxiety and fear and depression that came along with it because of all the different restrictions that happened, as well as this tremendous period of uncertainty. So, so there were a lot of different things that I had done during COVID. I ran a whole series of seminars or webinars on how do you combat stress and anxiety during COVID, and also Ayurveda speaks a lot about how do you actually fortify your health, improve your immunity during these times of stress. Because if your health and immunity are strong, then that gives you a much better chance to weather any storm that might come about.
It's interesting because during COVID, we kept hearing the other side of the story. Yeah, we have an innate immune system. If we get the virus, our bodies built up a stronger immunity to it. But the words that we were getting was not in alignment with that established fact from every other disease we've ever had. And so you're trying to counter not only the media, the narrative, whatever you want to call it, but I'm a total believer that get our immune systems as high as we possibly can, and then let our bodies protect ourselves. That's what our bodies are do. Why don't you follow up on that with your thoughts on the immune system? Because I know that when you let me stop talking.
Okay, no worries. No, that's a great question, Red. Yeah, so the immune system is the outcome of the entire a body-mind system that you have. So in Ayurveda, it is when your digestion is working properly, your metabolism is working properly, when your bioenergies that govern how your body functions are in balance, when your tissue elements are healthy and in balance. And besides that, that's all the physical and physiological aspects of it. But also there is the aspect of the mind. When you have a calm and pleasant mind, and when your sense organs are actually aligned well, that is, they are not overusing or extending what you see and what you hear. And besides that, on top of this, when your a life has a sense of meaning and purpose, when a combination of all of these things contribute to the immune system. And so when you're talking about healthy immunity, that's why it's kind of hard to divide health into just this aspect, into just the physical or the mental, because the amalgamation of all of them is what actually contributes to how you feel and how healthy you are. Just to further extend what you were talking about during COVID, and that was in play in so many different ways. If you see not just the sort of the actual aspect of people getting the virus and then subsequently COVID from there, it was also the stress and the isolation people felt from being at home. And work for sure took highlighted a lot of deficiency that people had in terms of how they were working and what exactly it meant to have a job. That was challenged as well. So there were a lot of different factors that came about, but I also do believe that there were a lot of things that were highlighted that we as people and we as a society would need to actually address in order to take us to the next level.
There's a term that's used, it's called work-life balance. And before COVID, it may not have been in balance, but there was some existing balance to it. COVID happens, and as you said, people are working at home, anxiety, don't know what's going on, am I going to have a job? And then now we've transitioned semi back to the way it used to be, but you still see dozens of people on a daily basis with masks on and washing their hands continuously. So there are things that have changed. So let's talk a little bit about work-life balance and how that actually improves our body and our long-term health.
That's a great question also. I mean, so when you think in terms of work-life balance, it's not necessarily, I'll give you a brief history in terms of where it is coming from now. Maybe about 20 years ago, people were talking more about work-life balance, where they wanted life to fit in with what it means to be working. But these days, especially over the past 10, 15 years or so, and since COVID, which further highlighted that, they want people want work to fit into their life. So it is more about life being in balance and harmony, and work being a part of it. So when you talk about work-life balance, it's about the fact that how can I sort of I make enough money, have a job that actually provides for my family, but at the same time, how can I actually sort of spend enough time with my family, spend enough time doing things that I love, and have a sense of future security and future welfare for me and my family. And so, this is further enhanced when you get into the aspects of contribution. So it is not just about contributing to yourself and to your family, but also contributing to the society at large. So when you talk about work-life balance, it's about bringing all these different aspects in a person's life so that they feel like their life is holistic, and they actually feel fulfilled in which direction they are going and where they might be at that present moment.
You're the founder of Ved Living, and I'm assuming Ved is at Ayurveda. And that started obviously after your engineering career was over. So tell us a little bit of how that got started and what help that you can bring to the world with your company.
For sure. So Ved basically, Ayurveda is a Sanskrit word. Ayur means life or Ayush, and Ved means knowledge. So Ved living is literally translates to living a life of knowledge. And that essentially means self-awareness, and so that you are in control or charge of your own well-being. That was an interesting story, right? Basically, it got to a point where at the end of my engineering career, it was a contract that I was working with one of the city agencies up in New York, and the contract ended, and I was at a fork in the road. Should I continue doing what I'm doing, or should I jump into something that I had actually wanted to do but had no idea what to do? And so I picked the latter. And so I dove into Ayurveda. I got educated in Ayurveda up in New York through a really good friend of mine. She is a physician, but an Ayurvedic practitioner as well. I finished her Ayurvedic practitioner course, and then I sort of traveled to India because it's an Indian science. I shadowed doctors there just to actually understand how the science works, but not just that. How do you have patient and client relationships, and how do you actually go through that entire process? It's been it was a road. I did further education up in North Carolina on specialized therapies in Ayurveda, energy therapy, marma therapy, also pulse assessment and diagnosis and such. I've been ever since. For me, the goal of doing Ayurveda is not just in terms of helping people, but also helping communities. So one of the key things that I look at this is in terms of how can we create cultures of well-being in our work environment or in organizations, so that people can not just talk about their health, but they build better relationships and communities at the places that they congregate. So that's our vision, and our long-term vision, if you think about this, is to create a world where people live a healthy, long, and meaningful life. And the best way that I know how we can do that is by empowering. I call it guiding and equipping people on to take charge of their own well-being. And once you have that happen, then all doors open.
Well, I think we're both aligned in that long, healthy life. That's what I research. That's what I write about and speak about. But with regard to you and your Ved living, there's a couple terms that you use that I'm unfamiliar with. I asked you about one of them on a recent phone call, but I think our audience would find them fascinating, at least as I found them fascinating. One is what you call pulse assessment. Let's talk about that for a brief moment or two.
Okay, awesome. So, it's, if you look at it in terms of what happens with assessing what is actually going on, this is more of an assessment procedure. And pulse assessment is where a practitioner understands what the imbalances are by touching the person's pulse. In conventional medicine or in Western medicine, a pulse is usually used for understanding the rate of heartbeat, perhaps blood pressure, things along those lines. Ayurveda goes deeper than that. It basically says, okay, you can understand what is happening physiologically in the person based on the varying degrees of what the pulse communicates. So that includes, for instance, what's the speed of the pulse? Is it faint? Is it weak? Is it heavy? What's the temperature when you touch the skin? Is it hot or is it cold? All these things inform different physiological systems. So for instance, if you're looking at the pulse and the pulse feels like it's slippery and it's moving fast, that means that there are some imbalances of air and gas in the body. So that could mean there's there are some sort of digestive issues that are going on, or perhaps there's a lot of stress that the person feels. And that can go further into details of what are some of the other tissues that are out of order. So the Ayurveda uses pulse to, in a very interesting way, and in a way that actually tells us the whole story of what actually is happening with the individual. And this I find to be quite profound. So just a quick background in terms of what this is. Imagine this is about a few thousand years ago, where you had all these ancient healers who didn't have the modern equipment of scans and MRIs and things like that. So they had to somehow discern what exactly is going on. And through their power of intuition and through their power of observation, they were able to, in a non-invasive way, find out what exactly is happening in the system by using pulse. And there are other techniques that help you assess properly what's happening.
Pulse has been one of those things as a runner in an earlier life that I always used to track a lot. But we can take a pulse from our neck, we can take a pulse from our wrist, take a pulse from our ankles. How do those different pulses relate to the overall body health?
So one of the key things, if you see, you're absolutely right. The pulse can courses through different parts of the body, but one of the ways that I and generally Ayurvedic practitioners use the wrist pulse, right? Pulse by the wrist, and for this is like a minute of Ayurvedic education for your audience. In a sense, Ayurveda is a systemic way of approaching what is health. There's this concept called doshas in Ayurveda, which essentially translates to doshas means what it represents is these are bioenergies that represent all the regulation of functions in the body. So there are three classifications of this. One is first one is called vata, which essentially translates to all the functions of movement that happen in the body. which is the respiration, inhalation, exhalation, elimination, circulation in the body, and things. Pitta, which is the second bioenergy, which represents all transformation, which is equivalent to digestion, metabolism, that is conversion of extracellular to intracellular nutrients, and also the sense of intelligence. So, which means that when you're talking about transformation, the images or the light that penetrates the eye gets translated into knowledge through the visual cortex. That transformation is also captured in this idea of the principle of transformation. And third one is accumulation, which is all the heavy stuff, which is tissue building and building of bones, building of fat and such. So when you think in terms of the pulse, if you think in terms of movement, transformation, and accumulation, or the subsequent elements associated with them, the pulse tells you that. If the pulse is quickened or fast, you know that the air is high or the movement function is off. So which essentially means that, okay, the movement function is off somewhere. It could be where it could be in the digestion, which will result in gas and bloating. It could be sort of enhanced breathing or difficulty breathing. So, and similarly, if you look at transformation, if the pulse indicates that there's heat or there's sort of sharpness in how the pulse is, that instructs you in terms of how the digestion is working, whether there's circulation issues and things. So through the systemic understanding of what the body is, you can use that knowledge and to understand how to read the pulse, and based on that, you can understand what is actually going on.
The other term I wanted to explore was marma therapy, and it sounds like you've already started explaining that without introducing that particular term, because some of the words you used when I was doing some research on it, it sounds like you've already gotten into some of those. Marma, M-A-R-M-A therapy. Tell us a little bit about that.
For sure. Marma is another, just to give a sort of a context to all this stuff, Marma, Ayurveda is a holistic system, which is basically, it is not just in terms of talking about how do you actually understand what's going on, but it's also a system of solutions, right? A system of solutions, and those solutions are either sort of things that people can do on their own, which is diet, lifestyle, exercise. People that might need sort of more sort of a help of a practitioner, help of an expert, which would be things like herbs and such, right? And then obviously they're extending that are things such as actual therapeutic procedures. And Marma is one such therapeutic procedure. Marma essentially translates to, in Sanskrit, it means hidden. So Ayurveda says that there are about 107 points around the body, similar to the Chinese meridian points, that sort of are points of interest. So in a sense, what that is these are points physiologically. There are sort of where there are nerve endings and sort of capillaries and muscles and tendons and things like that come about. But sort of psychologically also and spiritually, these are points of storehouses of life force, right? Chi, as they call it in Chinese medicine, or prana, as they call it in Ayurveda and the Indian tradition. So essentially what the whole therapy is about sort of stimulating through gentle massage different points in the body that will actually release any blocks that are there. And the whole point of all that is to enhance the body's self-healing abilities. When the life force is strong, as Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker may say, then the resulting health is strong. So so that's what the therapy is, and then and that is quite profound. It can sort of be used in various different issues and conditions and such.
Two things that I've been involved with in my life that I use even literally every week. One is the pranayamas for breathing. And the other one is emotional freedom techniques with the tapping. Are either one of those involved in the holistic kind of things that you help people with?
Yeah, I mean, pranayama, for instance, breathing is quite powerful. I mean, I use this for as part of consultation, but also as part of all the group programs that we're doing. Because at the end of the day, your breath is one of the main sources of nutrition to your body. So how you control your breath controls your emotions, and not just that, but it also controls your physiological sort of elements in your body. So yeah, pranayam, emotional freedom technique. There are different aspects of it, but yeah, I use this in terms of the individual consultations, but also we use this as a company for the programs that we put together. So
you just said something that I thought was very profound, because I've never thought about it before, but what you said is actually absolutely correct. Breathing is a form of nutrition. And as I'm thinking about that, I just make myself a little note on there, because I'm talking about nutrition in the next show. And it's an area that wasn't part of my overall outline. But when I'm thinking about breathing and people who are really good breathers, and I'm talking about people who can really get the oxygen into their system, they're generally almost never ever sick, because they have that immune system, and their ability to ward off everything is, I'm going to say, totally reliant on their breathing, but it's a major portion of our body's defense. So when you said that breathing is another way of addressing nutrition for the body, that was enough for me to make a note about it, because that was pretty important. But there are a lot of health challenges out there. And as a practitioner in Ayurvedic medicine, what kinds of health challenges are easy to address, and what kinds are just a little bit more difficult but can be addressed?
That's an interesting question, and kind of a question that requires an answer of depends. So, because when you think in terms of, and the reason I'm saying that is because any health condition that you see, it has several components to it. It's the condition, it's the severity of the condition, it's the client or the patient, and it's the willingness of them, right? So, and obviously then it has to do with the practitioner or the procedure that is critically important in getting that done properly. And so as far as things are concerned, as far as that is concerned, things that are sort of less severe are obviously easier to address, but things that have gotten more severe are more difficult to address. And some of the key things that you see, when I'm talking about addressing health issues, it doesn't necessarily, even the difficult ones, doesn't need to take a long time. It depends on how you address it and what support that you have. Just as an example, right? So since we have been talking about work, if you're talking about stress and burnout, right? Anxiety, depression, things like that, those are a combination of sort of foods that you can give, because food and mood are connected. And it's a combination of other lifestyle that you have in terms of when you wake up, what time do you go to bed, and what do you do during the two. And in addition, it's about sort of the community that you have around you to help and support you. So that's something that I come across all the time. I come across issues of digestive issues, and whether it is because of our lifestyle, because of the foods that we eat, that's quite prevalent. And and the other thing that people generally have issues with is a lot of energy. It's funny because although we are not out in the field like our sort of forefathers tilling the land, we seem to have more sedentary of our life, but the current lifestyle sucks up more of our energy than we can even assume.
So we're talking about a physical ailment. Sometimes we see it might be a little bit overweight, it might be fatigue, but we're also talking about the mental health aspect that may or may not be connected with it, and additionally the emotional health aspect of it. And sometimes all three are interwoven. And so you fix one, and the natural progression is, well, I take away the cause of the problem there, and I'm a root cause analysis kind of person, that
Right.
if I figure out that this is the root cause and I address it effectively, then the downstream results all should improve because of that. So, but you deal with exercise and nutrition and fitness and sleep and positivity and life. There's a lot of things that your company addresses. If you had to say, Red, these are three things that I would really strongly recommend to your audience, that regardless of where they are, everything can be improved. What are two or three things that all of us should be doing on a daily basis?
That's great. That's a great question. Yeah, when you think in terms of health, people can give so many different myriad of solutions, but then how do we get a handle of it? So, the first thing that I would say that's most important is food and nutrition. What you eat and how much you eat and when you eat make a big difference, right? So, and the second thing that is hugely important is sleep. So there's a sleep epidemic going on around the world where people are getting less sleep, and even if they get enough sleep, it's not good quality sleep. So making sure that you have healthy sleep routines, things that you do about half an hour before you go to bed, that'll make you feel better. That's make you put you in a state of mind that will give you good sleep is really important. The third thing that I would say is in terms of your emotional response, right? So it's about not necessarily about being in a stress-free environment, but realizing that when you are in any environment, the reactions or the actions that you have are in your control. So this is where, as we talked about, pranayama or breathing are hugely important. Meditation is hugely important. They train you to know how to handle stress. So that's what I would say. Diet or food, sleep, and your emotional responses.
Okay, let me take you down two of those options that you just talked about. Number one, the time of eating. The one of the, I guess it's a passion of mine is fasting, but some people can't do it because of blood issues and other things. But the intermittent fasting, you're eating the same amount of food per day, just different times. Tell our audience how just that the time of the day you eat has a major effect on your health.
Absolutely, that's yeah, and so this is where it's it deviates from the conventional wisdom in terms of what it is. Generally, people there's a philosophy about eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, and dinner like a pauper, or something along those lines. So in Ayurveda, what we say is your more than your breakfast and dinner, your lunch is to be the biggest meal. So, which essentially means timing. An ideal time for food is, let's say, 12 to 1 p.m. or 12 to 2 p.m. at the max, right? And so, and the reason is this is the time during the day when the sun is at the highest. So, which means sun is heat. And similarly, the digestive capacity or the digestive fire in your gut is also at the highest at this time. So that means this is when what you can eat can get digested. Since we are accustomed to how we actually have how we had our foods, people may not be able to have sort of healthy lunches or lunch as their biggest meal. But that's what physiologically is strongest in terms of when to consume a good amount of meal. And similarly, there are different timings for breakfast and dinner. Breakfast is between 6 and 7:30, and then dinner is from let's say 5:30 to 7, 5:30 to 7:30. Now, when you're talking about intermittent fasting, that is also very powerful because what it does is we have an sort of a overabundance of food, and not just that, overabundance of eating. And now, it definitely goes away from just physiological, but also to psychological. This is where people stress eat, emotional eat, and all this. And so when you do intermittent fasting, I did good times for intermittent fasting, if you're so choosing to do, is to sort of eat, finish your lunch, and whatever time is your last amount of food that you have in the afternoon, and then skip dinner so you go to the next thing, so that you're still giving your body enough and food to sustain during the day, during the afternoon. But that actually, what it does is it helps the body digest the food that is there, and helps it to sort of clean it up, and then helps prevent building up of toxins. So, so I totally applaud you for being for intermittent fasting and things, but it's also something that is useful, but it also needs to be monitored for how your body is reacting to that as well. So,
yeah, my body reacts very, very well on long extended fasts. That's just something I've been doing for years. But the second one, you talked about sleep. And I preach quality sleep. It's just not the number of hours, it's the quality. And one of the things I come across, I'm going to say maybe 3 months ago, was to wear a sleep mask at night to kind of drown out any excess lights in the room. So I've had a sleep mask for years. It just sits in a drawer. I found it, and I've been using it now for about 2 months. And I find it, I wake up better. I find that I can sleep a lot better. I'm not having any intrusive, even though there might be something in the room. I used to have the shades drawn a little bit so that I knew when daylight was occurring. But now I have no idea when daylight occurs, and my body just wakes up. But that sleep mask is something I found to be a very powerful tool to help me improve the quality of my sleep. Your thoughts?
About the mask in general, or about sleep in general?
No, the mask in general.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's so true. I mean, it's the mask actually cuts out all the extra light that happens in the room that you are in. No, it absolutely works, because what it does is it signals to the body saying that, okay, it really is time to sleep. And in Ayurveda, there's this idea of putting your mind and brain into a heavy state. You need to have that sort of state for it to rest. If it is active, then it's going to be difficult to rest. And any stimulation that you might get in terms of light or sound will wake it up. And so, and this is particularly more difficult for certain people who are light sleepers versus certain others that tend to be heavier, so they might be able to get away with it. But no, absolutely, it makes a lot of sense. And the mask is particularly more important, especially if you have your phone or laptop in your room, which constantly dings and buzzes and gives you all sorts of flickering light to let you know to pick it up.
As we're getting down toward the end of the show, what should I have asked? What should you have talked about today that we didn't get a chance to, but it's important for our audience to know?
That's a great question. I mean, the big thing I will say is this, right? So when you talk in terms of health, it's a topic that's not easy to do, right? So but that's because it is a lifelong journey, not just a task, right? And when I talk about health, I talk about your physical and emotional health. I talk about your feeling of self-fulfillment in life, and also about contributing to the community around you. And so one of the key ways that and that's why one of the things that we do is instead of just working on people one-on-one, we put group programs together. And organizations and companies are ideal for this, because they are an environment where people are gathered together for several hours a day. And so, it's about helping people in places like this get healthy, that can help them not just feel healthy, but also feel fulfilled. And that can actually help the employer with their bottom line as well. So the way I look at health is look at health in terms of long-term health, but also look at health in terms of how can you set up your environment to be a win-win for everybody involved.
As we're ending the show, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you, and what kind of clients or people are you, or companies are you trying to help?
Yeah, I mean, you can get in touch with me through my email. It's my first name, which is SRIRAM at vedliving.com. We are putting together a mastermind roundtable called the Wellbeing Cafe. It's not a physical cafe, but it's about a program to help conscientious leaders who want to create a lasting impact and legacy through their work. So it's about helping them align their physical health. It's about helping them align their mindset towards prosperity and self-sufficiency, and to also educate them in terms of how they can bring people along through that journey. So whether you're a leader of an organization or a business that wants to improve yourself, or to bring about this sort of sustainable long-term change through your organization, feel free to reach out. But also, if you are an individual who's looking to say, okay, how do I look at long-term health? How do I figure out how to age healthy? Connect with me as well. So happy to continue this conversation with you all.
Fantastic. Sriram, Sriram at vedliving, living.com. So Sriram at vedliving.com. Sriram, thank you so very much for your time today. I truly enjoyed it. I'm sure the audience did too, because there's just a lot of good wisdom that was put out today. I learned a lot, and that one of the things I look for every day is what's new that can help. So from an awareness and education perspective, you made my day. Thank you so very much for that.
Oh, thank you so much, Red, for having me. It was a great show. Pleasure talking to you as well.
And there's over 24 shows on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, and I'm sure you would fit into another one or two or three of those. So please get back with us, and I would love to have you back on the show down the road. In fact, my production engineer just said there's 45 shows on, so I'm being updated as we speak. So awareness, education. Anyway, before I conclude in about 20 minutes, Talking Heads is another show on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. It's a show I do by myself. I'm talking about various aspects of health, longevity, wellness, and I started on last week a deep dive into nutrition. And that's where I'm going to be picking up again. And I don't know if this will be over in an 8-week program. I try to aim for 6. The last one was a little bit longer, but regardless, we're looking at what really do you need and how does a deficiency, which is really a major portion of our health, what can be done about that. So join me for awareness education on a deep dive in nutrition on Talking Heads. And with that, I'm going to conclude the Wise Ones on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye now.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents our partner and sponsor, Mr. Philip Sykes and the British School of Excellence. Building confidence, changing lives. And now, proudly presenting the Polished Professional.
On a transformative journey with the British School of Excellence's comprehensive suite of masterclasses, crafted to elevate your professional and personal life. 8 outstanding modules will elevate you to the next level. Module 1, Exploring Life's Purpose, delves into the depths of self-discovery, guiding you to chart your unique path to fulfillment and success. Module 2, Mastering Professional Presence and Confidence. This masterclass is a deep dive into the art of self-assurance and commanding presence, which is essential for standing out in today's competitive landscape. Module 3, Learn the secrets of visual impact, how to curate a personal style that amplifies your professional brand. Module 4, Mastering Professional Etiquette and Communication Excellence, navigating the nuances of corporate interaction with grace and tact. Module 5, Elegance in Eloquence. We impart powerful techniques to captivate and persuade any audience with your oratory skills. Module 6, Unlock the potential of your emotional intelligence, EQ, and harness the ability to connect, empathize, and lead with emotional savvy. Module 7, Mastering DISC, building a gateway to understanding behavioral styles, fostering better personal and professional relationships. Module 8, Mastery in Dining Etiquette, building your confidence to perfect the subtleties of dining with finesse, enhancing your social savviness at any table. Step into the Polished Professional program where poise, elegance, and excellence aren't just taught, they're instilled for life. Join us to redefine your potential and polish your professional edge.
To learn more, go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. The British School of Excellence are investors in people. Let us invest in you.
Hello, I'm children's author Diane Floyd Bain, and I am co-host for several of the USA Global TV and radio shows. I joined because of the purpose of the USA Global TV and radio. They provide content for the viewers and listeners, an opportunity for people around the world to have their own show or even be a guest on an existing show. We truly believe in helping others get their positive message out to the world. We also have the opportunity for the listeners. You can watch on several platforms, and on YouTube, you can ask questions and even give a comment. We absolutely love it. I love being part of the USA Global TV and radio because I love positive messages. And who doesn't? And we need more of that in the world. We are a family, and we hope you will join us and become part of the family too.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents our partner and sponsor, Mr. Philip Sykes and the British School of Excellence. Building confidence, changing lives. And now, proudly presenting the Polished Professional.
On a transformative journey with the British School of Excellence's comprehensive suite of masterclasses, crafted to elevate your professional and personal life. 8 outstanding modules will elevate you to the next level. Module 1, Exploring Life's Purpose, delves into the depths of self-discovery, guiding you to chart your unique path to fulfillment and success. Module 2, Mastering Professional Presence and Confidence. This masterclass is a deep dive into the art of self-assurance and commanding presence, which is essential for standing out in today's competitive landscape. Module 3, Learn the Secrets of Visual Impact, how to curate a personal style that amplifies your professional brand. Module 4, Mastering Professional Etiquette and Communication Excellence, navigating the nuances of corporate interaction with grace and tact. Module 5, Elegance in Eloquence. We impart powerful techniques to captivate and persuade any audience with your oratory skills. Module 6, Unlock the potential of your emotional intelligence, EQ, and harness the ability to connect, empathize, and lead with emotional savvy. Module 7, Mastering DISC, building a gateway to understanding behavioral styles, fostering better personal and professional relationships. Module 8, Mastery in Dining Etiquette, building your confidence to perfect the subtleties of dining with finesse, enhancing your social savviness at any table. Step into the Polished Professional program where poise, elegance, and excellence aren't just taught, they're instilled for life. Join us to redefine your potential and polish your professional edge.
To learn more, go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. The British School of Excellence are investors in people. Let us invest in you.